Hello, everyone. My name is Chastity Munoz. I am your host with Unveiling Addiction. We are going to be interviewing Lily Nova. Shit just got really real, so I just got really nervous when I pressed record. So we're just going to have a fun little chat today. I am starting this podcast because I want to shed some light on addiction. I have struggled for 20 years of my life with addiction, and there are a lot of people out there that are struggling with the same thing. I recently decided to come off of Suboxone, which I was on that for 15 years. And I decided to put myself out there and decide to detox publicly. And so when I did so, this is Lily Noah. She's a friend of mine. I had reached out to her and let her know that I was doing this. And it turns out she actually fought the same exact battle years and years ago. And she was able to kind of walk me through this process. So I thought it was really important that she be the first person. I got goosebumps all over my body. I thought it'd be very important that she would be the first person to come on my show once I finally launched it and started it. So how are you doing, Lily? Welcome.
I'm doing fantastic. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be the first person on your podcast. I think a lot of people need this. And yeah, we need spiritual people who are talking out about this too and shedding light on it. And yeah, it was no coincidence that we just kind of accidentally linked up over this, having no idea what each of us had been through. So it was just divinely orchestrated. So thank you. I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me
It
on.
is. It is beautiful. So I know Lily through like the Journey to Truth spiritual community. We're just kind of like truth seekers out here. And I went to a conference back in October, and we have connected, in person. And so we would go back and forth from time to time. But for whatever reason, brought us together, and it's been it's an honor to have you on. Thank you so much. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So can we get into the UFO thing a little bit on here?
Please,
Okay.
please, let's do it.
So that's what I do now. I originally was a nutritionist, and let's see, where do I even begin with this? I fought a lot of battles with mental health. It runs in my family as well. Addiction runs in my family. My dad struggled with it. My uncle struggled with it. I struggled with it after my father passed. And my dad died abruptly from a heart attack, and he was sober at the time. And just, he didn't have any known health conditions. He was in his best shape that he had been in years. He was finally sober. He was doing great, healthy, and he just died in his sleep one night abruptly, and it just shook, all of us, shook me to my core. And that's whenever I spiraled into addiction really bad, trying to cope with that. And as I went into, I fought with that for years. And we can get into like more detail on this in a little bit, but that was my fuel for wanting to help with mental health and help with diet and nutrition originally. So after I got better, I went to school, got my dietetics degree, and wanted to help people, help prevent heart disease and heart attack, and help with mental health. And then during COVID in 2020, I started seeing UFOs started visiting me, and that just blew my mind. So that started a whole new awakening. I started documenting evidence of these UFOs with my camera because I was shooting space photography at the time. And so I started investigating them. And then it turned into a spiritual awakening where these beings began communicating with me and guiding me and teaching me. So after what I call Starseed Boot Camp, where, they rapidly taught me a lot of things and helped with my spiritual awakening, now I do YouTube, and I share, inspirational messages, stories of ET contact, help others through their spiritual journey on YouTube. And that's just kind of a summary.
Wow, that was beautiful. Geez, goosebumps again. Yeah, on Sunday she does videos where they're guided meditations, and they've truly helped me a lot. I have a friend that does them with me too, and he
Awesome.
actually reached out to you to let you know that you helped him through some really stressful times. So thank you for the work that you do, Lily. It's very much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's get into this a little bit. So you said you had your dad passed away, and that's kind of when everything spiraled out of control for you. So did they were you prescribed medication? Did you go seeking it yourself? How did you get into contact with the very first thing that you ever took?
Yeah. So I was just reflecting on this before the interview. So it actually started like a year or two before,
Okay.
but it was more of a casual thing. I wasn't prescribed anything. This is before, at least at that point, I wasn't. This was before the opiate epidemic. This is before it was in the media. I was like 20, 21 years old at the time. You know, I liked to party around that time. And I remember my younger brother, he's 3 years younger than me. So he was like 16, 17 at the time. His friend came over and brought a cookie jar filled with something called tramadol. Have you heard of that?
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So at the
Mhm.
time, it wasn't classified as a narcotic. It's very, very mild. I think now it is, but it's very, very mild. It'd be like the ibuprofen of opiates. Very,
Right.
very mild. So he brought this cookie jar over, and me having no idea what I'm getting myself into, he would give us some. Sounds really messed up, but I was young and dumb, and he would give us some, and I took it. So that was my first experience with it, and I noticed it gave me some energy. It made me feel, kind of relaxed. It made me feel good. It was very mild, so you're not getting super messed up off of it.
Right.
So that's kind of how it started. And I remember a good friend of mine started coming into contact with prescription medication and sharing that. And my boyfriend at the time, their mom, whenever we would go over there, she would give us, like a it sounds terrible, but just being
No,
real, just
it's
being real.
yeah, no, it's so listen, it's not. Listen, I used to doctor hop with my mother. So I mean, okay, listen, I know it sounds terrible, but it is what it is, girl. It
Yeah,
is what it is. So it's all good. We're
especially.
bringing light to it. We're bringing light to it.
Yeah, exactly. So we would go over there, and this was just like a casual, like fun thing. I wasn't addicted yet, and I had no idea how addicting these medications were. We would go over to his mom's place, and whenever we went over there, she would give us like an Adderall and a Percocet or a Vicodin or something like that, and just to kind of have like a fun day, make us kind of feel good.
Right.
Nothing too extreme, but so that's kind of how it started. But then whenever my dad died, so it was kind of a casual every now and again kind of like fun thing for
Right.
a little while. And then whenever my dad died,
Got real.
immediately immediately after we left the hospital, I called my friend who I knew her and her boyfriend had prescriptions, and said, I told her that my dad just died, which was a surprise to everybody. And I was like, I need something because I'm really struggling bad. It felt like my heart was ripped out of my chest. It really blindsided me. So I needed something to numb the pain,
Right.
to help me cope through it. So that's whenever things really went up because the pain was so unbearable, and a bunch of other things happened in my family that was just tearing us apart. And I had a really interesting relationship with my dad. I was very, very close with him. He was a starseed also. He's the one who introduced me to the ideas of alien life, and me and him used to watch like Ancient Aliens and stuff like that together. We were very deep thinkers. He's definitely a starseed. So we had just a very unique relationship. But yeah, after that, I just needed something to get rid of the pain. So that's whenever I started taking them, um,
Oh,
as
I just
as
got
much as
goose,
possible.
I just got goosebumps all over my body. I don't know if I'm just like feeling you or what, but I just got goosebumps. That's beautiful. I'm so sorry you had to deal with that. And that I couldn't imagine. It's one thing to lose someone like that has been slowly, like for instance, my mom is, it's sad. I'm having to watch her slowly just deteriorate over the past 10 years, and
Yeah.
so it's one, because you're expecting it in a sense, you know what I mean? But to lose someone like that, like that's a shock to the system. I can't even imagine. And it being your own dad, like,
Yeah.
of
He was
course,
he
of
was
course.
only 44. He was only 44 years old.
Oh, Lily. Yeah. So of
Yeah.
course you're gonna want to numb the pain. Now, do you mind that I ask? So during all of this, did you ever go to a doctor to try to get prescribed something? Because usually when something like this occurs in your life, you can use it, if you, like me, use it in your favor. I'm gonna go, okay, well, I'm gonna go get some Xanax or whatever the case may be, because you just
Mhm.
dealt with the death. Do you mind that I ask? I mean, did doctors ever prescribe you anything, or were you ever just seeked it out?
So I didn't go to a doctor. I probably maybe well, I don't know if I should have because who knows what I would have well, they would have put me on, at that time. It would be I would just get it from off the streets, people that
Yeah.
I knew, essentially,
Okay.
because I knew so many people. And at this time, again, this is before the opiate epidemic was
Right.
known. This is the very beginning stages of it. So the markets were being flooded with these pills. They
What
were
year?
literally what?
What year?
This was my dad died in 2014, I think, 2013 or 2014.
Okay.
So whenever I went to rehab, fast forwarding a little bit, whenever I finally went into rehab, while I was in rehab, that's the first time whenever it started being in the news. And I was like, holy crap, because people
Oh,
started dropping left and right. And I got out of it just in time. But I had no idea how addicting it was and how bad it was. Nobody knew.
yeah.
The markets were being flooded with these painkillers, with Xanax, with all of these things, and so a lot of people just had them that I knew. So I would just get them, from friends and things
Yeah.
like that.
The reason I asked that too, Lily, is because when I was 16, I was dealing with some stuff at my house. There was some stuff going on and I was running away. I wasn't being protected. I was really, there were some changes in my life, and I was really, really having a hard time. And then my parents sent me to a psychiatrist, and that
Mhm.
psychiatrist put me on, the first thing that psychiatrist said to me was, "So you're pretty fucked up in the head, right? Sorry, excuse my language." And then proceeded to put me on Zoloft. I
Mhm.
find out just a few months ago that Zoloft was linked to suicide. I
Yeah.
tried committing suicide. I tried committing suicide within 6 months of being prescribed that medication.
Wow.
So that's why I just asked that.
Mhm.
So it was just that. So it was just the tramadol that you were taking, or were just a mix of things.
Originally, it was the tramadol, and then after that, my one of my best friends, she started dating this guy who his parents, they were all messed up, but they had prescriptions of Percocet, so they would sell those prescriptions. Uh, so Percocet and then Oxycontin. And then once it started spiraling out of my control, and I noticed because once you start taking these things for an extended period of time, then you, as you know, you get extremely sick whenever you do not have it. So
Yes.
then your body needs it. You are dependent on it. And at that point, it's not even about getting high or feeling good. It's about just feeling normal because you literally cannot even function. I could not go to work. I lost jobs because I couldn't go into work because if I couldn't, get medicine because I would, you just can't function. You get really sick. It's the worst withdrawals. So then whenever that started happening, I'm like, oh shit, this is a problem. But then it's hard to stop because you're like every cell in your body is screaming that you need it, and it doesn't stop until you get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's get into that a little bit. So you ended up going into rehab because you became kind of physically addicted to it. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm literally in the process of that right now, right?
yeah,
So you and I connected. I don't even know. I don't really keep, a pin in whatever date that I stopped. I don't do that. Like, it was a couple of months ago that I decided. It took me about a year to wean down from, well, no, girl, it took me like 4 years. I was on Xanax, Adderall,
yeah.
Ambien, and Suboxone. I
Ooh.
tried to quit cold turkey, all of them. I was bedridden for 2 months. Then
Oh my god, you
yeah,
can't you're not sup
I
Xanax
know,
can kill you.
I
Xanax
know.
withdrawal can kill you.
I love to find things out the hard way, don't I?
Yeah,
Jeez.
a lot of these things, it's actually very dangerous to detox and quit cold turkey, so that's another thing, like, a lot of the time you need medical
Yeah.
support, so kudos to you for doing it, on your own. Yeah, so I at eventually it spiraled so out of control. I lost my job, I lost everything, I lost my partner at the time,
Mm.
just everything. It was just so out of control. And so finally, my mom found out, and they did like an intervention, and I had to well, before that, so I started going to a methadone clinic because I didn't have any money, and, I think I may have told I don't know, the methadone clinic, I think it cost $20 a day, and I'm so shocked that this is even a thing. I found out about it through somebody else who was also, you know,
The
uh
methadone clinic? You're shocked that's a thing? Is that what? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't know that that was a thing. Somebody else told me about it, and then, I was so desperate at the time. So what the methadone clinic does is literally you have to be there at, like, 6 o'clock in the morning or something like that. You go in, and for your first time, you see a doctor, you tell them they drug test you, and you tell them, "I'm struggling with this, and I wanna, start taking methadone," or whatever. You literally go there at, like, 6 o'clock in the morning, wait in a long line filled
Yep.
with other people. You give them $20 and they give you this pink liquid, of methadone, which is a very, very, um, it's very, very strong. It
Yes.
can help you to get off of other things, but it can be more dangerous, I feel like. Maybe for some people that works, but for me, it was worse. And you can even kind of finagle them and be like, "I'm still, like, feeling sick or whatever. Can you up the dose?" So I did that a few times
Of
until I was
course.
up to yeah.
So insomnia, I'm going to just chime in just for a second.
Mhm.
Insomnia is a real massive symptom from coming off of methadone. And if
Yeah.
you don't get sleep, your brain starts eating away at itself. So yeah, these getting off these medicines, these medication assisted treatment. So continue. I just wanted to chime in
Yeah.
on that.
Definitely, and that's something that I learned my lesson the hard way with methadone. I would never, ever, ever touch it again. So I started doing methadone. I was on it for a couple of months, I think, and then finally, something I don't know, finally I was like, I was still using on top of it a little bit here and there,
Yeah.
which is not good, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, so I needed help. And my mom helped me get into a rehab facility, a treatment center, which is actually the same rehab that my dad went to, the last one he went to, that actually got him sober. Um, yeah, so it's a really, really good facility. So, and I was scared going to inpatient. It sounds super scary, but it saved my life. I ended up having to go twice, to the inpatient, but so the first time I go into the inpatient, and they wouldn't even take me if I were taking methadone, a certain I think the cap was like 40 milligrams or something like that, and I was taking 80 milligrams a day, and yeah, they wouldn't have even taken me because they did not have the medical supplies and medical attention there that I would need to safely detox me, and I was so desperate that I lied to them and said, I was only on the whatever the max amount was so that they would take me in. And being on methadone, it like seeps into your bones. It
Yeah.
is so hard to get off of. The withdrawals take a very long time. The sickness is worse than normal opiates, and you can't take Suboxone, which is what they
Yeah.
normally treat you with to help you get off, because Suboxone uh, if since methadone stays in your system for so long, if I were to take Suboxone on top of that, it would make me very, very ill.
Yep.
It wouldn't help. So I basically had to cold turkey it in rehab, and the withdrawals didn't I was in the detox room for the longest out of anybody. I was so sick, and it took a few days for the withdrawals to even kick in because it takes so long to get out of your system. I
Mhm.
couldn't I couldn't sleep for days. My legs literally, like, I'm in this detox, like, hospital room, and, I'm the only one, like, not sleeping, staying up. I'm walking around because your legs are so restless, you feel like you need to, like, run a mile, and I was just sitting there, like, bicycling my legs all night. I didn't eat for days, I didn't sleep for days, I didn't drink for days, and then finally, like, I was trying to a bath was the only thing that kind of helped, and I was literally trying to bang my head up against the wall to knock myself out because I needed sleep so bad, and
Oh,
that's where finally, they were like I had to tell them, I lied about the amount I was taking,
yeah.
and finally they gave me something trazodone to help me sleep, and
That's what I
that
was going to ask. I was going to ask you if they gave you, because they'll usually, when I was in I went to treatment. I think I went to 3 different rehabs. Nothing ever took. It wasn't what the rehab, it was, I had to be ready. I just wasn't
right.
ready. I completely lost my train of thought.
Yeah, so for the sleep,
Yeah.
they wouldn't give us anything for sleep, until they found out that I was trying to literally knock myself out, and then I had to admit that I was on a much higher dose than what they would allow, so then finally they gave me something to help me sleep,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, but yeah.
So thank you, Lily. So you were in rehab for a little bit, and you cut it cold turkey. Yeah. You cut everything cold turkey, and they didn't give you, like, they gave you the trazodone to help you sleep, and then once you got out everything, you were good to go.
Well, actually, so they for the first 4 days, I think they gave me, tramadol.
Yeah.
Just 4 days worth of and not even that much tramadol. Literally, it was like taking an ibuprofen. It didn't do anything.
Yeah,
That
I was curious because I'm trying to reflect back on my own experiences, and I was trying
Mhm,
to remember if I ever successfully, like, got off Suboxone. But what I would do is I would go to these treatment centers, and
mhm.
then there would anyways, there would be people that would still bring me up Xanax to these treatment centers. That's how much I just was not ready to
Ready?
get better. I was forced in it. My own family members bringing me up drugs to it. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, I wasn't ready the first time. Really, it was out of desperation because I literally could not go on anymore. I was out of money. I had nothing left. So I couldn't keep supplying my habit. So I was not ready the first time. After I got out, I had been seeing somebody, and he went to rehab at the same time. Um, and or maybe that was the second time around. I relapsed after I got out, shortly after, and then I tried doing some, outpatient where
mhm.
you go in a couple days or a few days a week, and then I got put on Suboxone in the outpatient programs. So that's how I started taking, Suboxone, and then
So
it
that's what
got
I
bad. Yeah, it just got bad again.
Yeah, so that's what that's where I keep wanting to go, and then kind of losing my train of thought. Did I was trying to reflect, have I ever successfully, so what I would happen is in the treatments, I would get off the Suboxone, and then I would end up going home and find, like, pills hidden all over my house, and then it would just start it back up again. I never was ever really completely successful on it, because I kind of want to get into this a little bit. So we talked a little bit, you mentioned a little bit about when your body gets addicted, it's not even about, you start wanting to get high and numb your emotion and numb your pain, whatever it is you're dealing with, you're wanting to numb. But when you continue to take these substances, you will eventually get to a place to where, because I've been healing and doing good, and I went within and started really working on myself, and I'm literally was taking this little piece of Suboxone to not withdraw, to not detox, to not sweat, to not feel awful.
Mhm,
My body, I was in a different state of being, but I'm literally taking this, to feel a little bit better. And
mhm.
they've got it so twisted. I've heard people that have come off of heroin and Suboxone, and he said Suboxone was harder to come off of than heroin. And I
Yeah,
think that's done by design, because
yeah.
they give us this drug and tell us they're okay. It blocks the opioid receptors. You go from take my own personal experience. I'm just going to get into this. I
Mhm,
started taking pain pills. I was up to like 15 pain pills a day. And so in my mind, one little Suboxone, is a lot better, is way better than, 15 pain pills. But
mhm.
you're desperate. You're so desperate. You're not looking into this medicine, to see if you're just trying to get better your next step. Does that make sense what I'm trying to
Yeah.
articulate? Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. Well, you're trying to avoid the withdrawals too, because it literally feels like every single cell in your body and your brain is just screaming at you. And
Right.
the only thing to shut it up is to take something to take it away. And
That's
it's
right.
the most difficult thing. Yeah, the most difficult
Oh,
thing I've ever done in my life.
yeah, it is. I've heard, I've heard Dr. Charnel, she's mentioned that people have literally taken their own life because it's that fucking horrendous. It is awful. It is that, it's a revolution though. There are so many people that are in the process of getting off of it.
Mhm.
They're getting off of it. And one thing I do want to say about the opioid withdrawal, when I first got off as a boxer, I was like, okay, I was beating myself up because I was taking kratom and but you have to everybody's going to be on their own journey and you kind of just have to do what you got to do. It's
Yeah.
not going to happen overnight. It's literally like a process. It takes like a year to really get off of this stuff. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. And I would like to add on kratom. So kratom did help me tremendously.
me too.
Um, especially, well, let me backtrack a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, well, kratom did, it helped me tremendously. Whenever I was having really bad cravings, I started taking it, and it's more natural, and but it can't you don't want to switch one thing for another, but it helped me a lot, and I took it, you know, for years to help with that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so everybody's kind of on their own plan. You don't want to switch one thing for another, but yeah,
Yeah.
definitely much healthier than the pharmaceuticals.
That's exactly how I felt about it. 100%. You don't want to overdo that either, but people just don't, I had a lot of people reaching out to me about kratom too and they're like, "Don't do it." Da 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 da. Everybody's on their own path and when you don't experience that, you need to alleviate. It is horrendous. So
Mhm. Yeah.
anyway, well, Lily, I appreciate you kind of getting into everything. Thank you.
Mhm.
I know that this podcast seems like it's good, but I'm bringing it to light, right? So, what better person than me to talk about this dark stuff because I'm bringing it to the light. There really are
Mhm.
more and more people getting off. Like, there are a lot of people that are still nervous to get off. I get messages all the time. I'm scared
Mhm.
to do it. I want to do it. I can't. I'm
Mhm.
going to work. People can't do
Yeah.
it. Yeah, and I get it. I have so much compassion for people. I was watching that docu-series Painkiller Girl, and I had to kind of take breaks because it was just infuriating me, and I was getting so emotional because I'm watching my own mother, these pills taking her down, and people,
Mhm.
why are you allowing her to take those pills? Well, she fell 60 feet over a balcony and has 7 shattered vertebrae and
Mhm.
just all kinds of things wrong with her. And it's so programmed in her mind to take a pill for every time
Mhm.
something is wrong, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah. Well, kudos to you for like living with that and being strong, even though you have access to that right there. That's insane. And that's one of the hardest parts also about getting clean, besides the withdrawal and the programming and the detoxing
Mm,
and all of that. You literally have to change your complete life. You have to change everything about yourself. For me, I had to get a new phone number. I had to delete all of my contacts. They say in rehab and the treatment centers, people, places, and things,
yep.
because it's so engraved in you. Just seeing a person, you automatically associate them with pills or, whatever. You see a
Yep.
person, you see a place, and it reminds you of that one time, you used to get stuff from over there, you used to go there, people, places, and things. And it's so deeply ingrained. You have to completely uproot your entire life. You have to change your entire life and reprogram yourself. And that's incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
I had to leave St. Louis. So the last and final time I did one inpatient where I was coming down off of methadone, very difficult. Then I did a couple outpatients where I was put on Suboxone. And, Suboxone just kind of perpetuated it in an outpatient setting. Finally, I had my first spiritual experience, and I write about this in my book that I just
Yes.
released. Um, my first spiritual experience, I went back to the inpatient rehab, and this time I wasn't on methadone, so I could take the Suboxone, but I knew what it could do. So I told them, put me on half as much as you put everybody else on to
Mhm.
help me get off of the opiates, cut
Mhm.
it in half, and then, for the taper also, it was like a 2-week taper or something like that where they give you, less and less each day.
Yeah.
Cut the dose in half and cut the time in half, because I was watching people the first time around go in, they'd get put on Suboxone, they'd start feeling better pretty immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But then near the end of their stay, they would come off the Suboxone and they'd be withdrawing all over again, withdrawing from the Suboxone and feeling like total crap. And then they would leave the rehab and then they'd go and relapse because they felt like shit.
Yeah.
So I told them I learned from that, and I was like, cut it in half, and it was harder up front, but I, got through the withdrawals. And I also want to say something. Whenever I first went into rehab, I was in a room with probably like 50 other people, and they said something that just shook us to our core. Oh, sorry,
Uh-oh.
No,
I got my camera.
You got me on a cliffhanger. I'm like, what'd they say to you?
I've got it on my. Sorry about. Oh, there we go.
You're good. Uh-oh.
Okay.
There you are.
I got it hooked up to my camera and it times out after a certain period. So they had us about 50 people in this room, and they said, 10 people out of this room, raise your hand. And they said, that's the amount of people, or they said, what did they say? They said they had like 1/3 of the room raise their hand.
Yeah.
So this is a good portion of there. There's like 50 or 60 people there. And
Yeah.
they said, all of you will be dead from this disease.
Yeah. Been in that room.
Yep. So 1/3 of the room would be dead. And then I think 10 people raised their hand, and they're like, that's the number of you who are actually going to survive and make it clean. And a lot of people that I went to rehab with, they're dead.
Yep.
And that's
Yeah.
sad.
That hit you good, huh?
Yeah, young people, really good young people.
Yeah. So yeah, I went to a treatment center. I think it was like 2017. Or no, 2016. Nevertheless, it was the way that it was designed it was not designed for a person to be successful. I will just tell you that. I walked in on a girl shooting up in her neck.
Oh my God.
It was, at that point in my life, I'd seen it all, right? But I mean, still, that's something that you're just like, oh, geez.
In the rehab facility?
In the rehab, people were dying at the rehab facility. When I left, there were 2 other girls that had died at the rehab facility. There was I want to get into this because I think it's important, because I think some of this is done by design. I truly, truly do. I look back at that and I'm just so grateful, that I'm just grateful to be alive. Geez, nevertheless, it was called Watershed and it was in Florida. And you go to one facility for like 28 days and you detox, you get off the Suboxone. That's what they do. They kind of wean you down. And then after you go to the second phase of this treatment center, you go and you stay in these apartments. There were 2 sets of apartments. One set of apartment was up against another apartment complex that were drug dealers. And there was and that was the younger crowd. I stayed with the older crowd where that wasn't going on, but every once in a while we would all come together, and what was going on over there was unbelievable. I mean, they would go to the fence and whistle hooty hoo, and they would throw dope over. So it's like,
oh my God,
it's just like those methadone clinics, they design it for it. They keep you hanging on and keeping you locked in. I understand everybody's point of view. I truly, truly do. But if you possibly can get off of any of that stuff, I encourage you do it. Even antibiotics, even Accutane. I have a friend from the gym. I'm really ranting. I apologize. But I have a friend from the gym that was on Accutane. And she finally got off of it. This was like a month or so ago. She can't sleep. She can't do anything the same. It's Accutane. So even if it's not a narcotic, it doesn't matter. We should really be looking into this. Quite frankly, I think none of them are good. Any of them. None of them. I think there's not any of them that are good, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd like to add the rehab facility that I went to was a really good one, and it was far away it was in a very rural, it was in a place called Boonville, Missouri, like very rural. Shout out to Valley Hope. Valley Hope is what it was called. It was a really, really good rehab, and they have multiple locations in other places. That's the only place that worked for my dad. but there's a lot of state funded rehabs that are really shitty, and there's also a lot of rehabs where people just open up a rehab to get the insurance money. They're not even seriously like trying to help people. They're
That's
just trying to,
disgusting.
yeah,
I
get
didn't
the
know
insurance.
that.
Yeah, I had a friend invite me, somebody I'd met in the rehab trying to invite me out to California to come to this rehab they were opening up or whatever for the insurance money, essentially.
Wow, I did not know that. Of course, that's what people do. That's so interesting because I was following this guy along, and he went from having such a horrible, like, he just went from like prostituting himself for drugs and stuff, and now he has all these sober living houses. And I was like, wow, what an inspiration! But
Yeah,
interesting. Well,
yeah.
Lily, I just want to thank you for coming on today. I really appreciate it. I know this isn't an easy topic to discuss, but you don't have no idea how much this means to me in my heart, and I truly, truly appreciate it. And we're going to shine some light on this. So thank you for
Yeah.
coming. Do you have you? So guys, we're going to be at this conference soon. I'm actually going to be buying your book when I see you in person. I can't wait to see you. I'm getting goosebumps all over again. You want to tell us a little bit about where we can find you and what you got going on, Lily? You got some stuff going on, girl.
Yeah, so I just finished my first book, Contact, an incredible true story of contact with beings from another world and spiritual awakening. Goes through a little bit of my background, the beginning of my spiritual awakening, which, like I was saying, I had my first spiritual experience with God in the final rehab, and that's actually what released the hold that it had on me. I literally felt spirit, God, for the first time come down and like take the burden, take it away. And I felt like the internal war that had been raging in my head was just suddenly dissipated.
Yeah.
And it was a crazy experience.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, so that's what started my whole awakening. And so I wouldn't be where I am today without going through that and without experiencing all that. So that it goes into that a little bit in the book, and then talks about, the UFOs coming in and my UFO footage and how to make contact, uh, and all of that. And I do live activations and meditations on my YouTube channel, which you can find me at Lily Nova Starseed. I also do other content and interviews and things on Lily Nova Starseed YouTube. And yeah, my website's lilynovaspaceart.com. So you can find other information about me on there and other ways to contact me.
Beautiful. You have anything else you want to say to the audience before we leave?
Yeah. I would like to say, I feel a lot of us sensitive empath people, old souls, I find a lot of us struggle with addiction and struggle, maybe not necessarily as to this extent. Maybe it's, something lesser, maybe it's drinking or whatever, just struggles with anxiety or depression. And earth can be hard, but we're shining a light on it, and it's all a part of our development, our growth, our evolution, and it does get easier. We do recover. Just find your community has been incredibly helpful. Find others who you can talk to this about and hang in there. And also exercise and sunlight helps too.
That's it. You got to get that sunlight in when you can, because we already know what they're doing. So anyway,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Lily. It was such a pleasure, such an honor. Thank you for having you on today. And until next time, guys, we'll see ya.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Oh my gosh. Oh, wait, did I not end it?